And now our feature presentation.
Welcome to the Groomer Next Door. Jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun into ride a one-horse sleigh. Hey, you're listening to my mommy and daddy.
Merry Christmas.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Groomer Next Door, episode 57. I'm your co-host, Chris Green. Sitting next to me is the lovely Call of Duty girl, Sarah.
Hi.
Well, this week I guess we're gonna first dive into the fact that you just heard the new Christmas intro. That was our little girl on Thanksgiving. We recorded it, and yeah, it was fun doing.
She loves being involved in everything, and she loves how she's a part of us, and she's a part of this. This is, she finds it exciting too.
Yeah, she really does. She
feels special.
She does. You know, it was funny when I told her, okay, we got to do the Christmas one, and it sounds good, but it was take after take after take. I mean, it took forever.
And mind you, she's just now getting into listening to the songs and understanding everything, so it's kind of cool. It was a proud moment for us parents that she got a little tangled up on the one-horse open sleigh part, but hey, you know what? This goes down forever.
I just loved it. I thought it was great. So you are hearing it for the first time. We've heard it, obviously, but that was a proud moment for me, at least. So let's dive into this week in the salon. We had a lot of things happen. We'll go into our one really cool story a little bit later. But what stuck out this week for you?
I don't know, the whole week did. The week actually started off real slow since it was, I don't know exactly what happened, but we had a couple cancellations. Some people had emergencies in their family and they called us, and we always appreciate when families who have emergencies that still call us and let us know, hey, look, I'm sorry, we won't be able to make it in. Whenever you have to cancel, don't do that. Don't tickle me. Whenever you have an emergency pop up and you remember your dog has a grooming appointment, groomers appreciate getting the call and letting know instead of just not showing up at all and calling and leaving a message. People have to cancel appointments or reschedule appointments. It happens, and groomers understand. It's just you got to try. And if it's too big of an emergency, then, don't worry about it. They'll get over it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we also had, that long week. Everybody was off a lot last week. Whether they were off a few of the days or all the last week in travel. Monday was a hard day for a lot of people to go back to work. I mean, we were happy. It was exciting to go back to work, and I remember going there just like, oh, good, something to do. Because being at home can be very boring, but... yeah, a lot of people were trying to transition back, especially to a whole full week. I mean, it was, yeah. So, yeah, it did start out a little slow. Some of us never turn down our phone when we record.
Sorry.
Let's see. For me, I don't really, there was one day, look at me.
And you talk about me not putting my phone on silent, homie.
Well, I'm just that good.
The one thing that stuck out to me that we've been trying to preach for a long time is waiting until winter to shave your dog down due to the fact that there's mats. We had 3 dogs come in this week that were matted from head to toe that had to have a full strip. And most of the time with matted dogs, you can get what we call number 7 through. As long as you're skilled enough to do it, it can be risky. But this time we had to take them down to the lowest. I mean, I was pulling off pelts off of these dogs. Yeah, most of the time the dogs are inside. I made sure to talk to the guy, and he said, yes, they're inside dogs, just goes outside long enough to pee. Well, still, having no fur on at all going out to pee will still sting.
Well, look at how Belle being the Chihuahua, she goes outside. She goes outside just long enough to do her business, and she's in that house as quickly as she can. So I get that.
And this Chihuahua had more fur on her than these dogs that left. And we even put a sweater on her. So when you start noticing your dog having mats, you got to get him in. I know life is busy, life is crazy, But if it's too busy and too crazy to take your dog into the groomer, then there might be a slight chance that you're just too busy to have a dog in general. That's when the responsibility kicks in, and you got to know, okay, am I being responsible with these dogs or am I not?
And that's actually back to an episode we did a long time ago. It was titled "A Dog Beyond Your Means" or something like that. Owning a dog beyond your means, I think, is the title. And it is true. I mean, a lot of people have busy lives. I mean, and it's the holiday season. This is the first holiday season we've been doing the podcast, so it's we're trying to kind of almost do a show and review kind of moment where it's like look back to a lot of things we talked about. It almost comes to fruition right now to where we're at.
Yeah, and well, another thing too about these dogs, I haven't covered in prior episodes, is elderly dogs with bad teeth. Uh, I was shaving down the one small dog that was probably the second worst matted dog of the three. And I had to be very careful around the muzzle since the muzzle had to get shaved. It was just so matted. But most of her teeth were all loose, and one was about ready to fall out. So you got to keep in mind that when you take your dog into the groomer, it's an elderly dog, it's having loose teeth, that there's a possibility while grooming the dog could lose a tooth. And it's not by any means of the groomer, it's just teeth being loose. Um, but most groomers should be able to give you a call and let you know ahead of time. So I let the gentleman know. I was like, look, your one pup has some loose teeth, and one is about ready to fully let go. He goes, oh, okay, well, thank you for the heads up. And I was like, no problem. I was gentle around the muzzle, so the muzzle might not be perfectly shaved, smooth, clean, just perfect, because you have to compensate with with the pain, because when dogs' teeth start going rotten, their gum line starts hurting crazy. I have another Maltese that comes in to get groomed, and he has bad teeth, and he doesn't like anything vibrating anywhere near his head, so I have to pretty much hand scissor the face and such because the teeth are so sensitive and the gums hurt so much. You can't do that. So that was another thing we had to fight through and let let owners know, hey, look, there's bad teeth and there is a possibility if they fall out. But groomers should be more up to let you know ahead of time versus letting you know at the very end.
Very true. I remember that dog, and I remember when I was bathing that dog, I was like, oh boy, that poor dog. And when you're washing the face, you're like, gosh, you're so gentle right around the mouth area so that you don't end up pushing on their teeth so it breaks a tooth off or something worse. That's another challenging moment because you just don't know when that could happen. I think one of the things that caught my attention, and we just talked about this yesterday, was going into the actual bathing room and seeing two dogs, one named Fluffy and one named Fluff.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, there must be the same owner. Oh, wait, they're not.
Well, it would be kind of weird if the same owner named one dog Fluff and one dog Fluffy. But that happens a lot going into grooming salons. We have many dogs named Princess, a lot of precious dogs.
Bella.
Belle.
Yeah, that's it.
Bella.
Now, okay, we have a dog named Belle, but she's Belle Grande.
Yes.
So we just call her Belle for short. Her real name is Belle Grande.
Roxy got her name before we even got her.
Yeah, so. Roxy is just not the name I would have called her, but
Yeah, it works.
It works. It survives.
My dad liked it.
Yeah, that's true. I remember, what was it? Was it Friday or was it Thursday where I just was never around? I was just in the bathing room all day.
No, there was a couple days this week.
I can't remember which day it was. I mean, it was like I had so many big dogs. It felt like the holiday week all over again. I was just like, oh my gosh. Oh, I hear Roxy at the door. She was smelling the outside. Yeah, we're actually recording today outside. We didn't even mention this. We are outside, and for a Midwest, almost pretty much winter type day, and we're sitting outside. It's kind of interesting.
Oh, we're bundled up. It's 37 degrees out right now. Yeah,
and for any of you in California who are going 37 degrees and you're outside, are you crazy? Yeah, we are.
You're in a big jacket. I'm in a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I'm sissy. My jacket's a hockey jacket, so it's nice and ventilated for warmth.
And I'm sporting my Call of Duty Advanced Warfare Day Zero hat.
We're not gamers.
So, But that's pretty much just how our week's been, and the different issues that we've come up and we've had to deal with. Um, a lot of times, like with your training, I don't remember to tell you something until something actually happens.
That's an every week thing. Hey, did I ever tell you?
Oh, did you know if you do this? Yeah. So
No.
that's why we get so in depth in our week, because it reminds us, oh yeah, this is something else that owners should know about. Like
Well,
the teeth thing. Didn't cover that in any other episodes about bad teeth and older dogs
well,
that get groomed.
on that though, as I'm listening to you with that, I was thinking of, um, it's an actual vet and dental clinic that I've been talking to in London, England, not Canada. Um, they actually want to do something with our show. They want to be on the show. We just don't know how we're gonna pull it off. But yeah, when
You'll
you were
just have to
talking
be
about
on Wi-Fi, so we don't get charged.
either Wi-Fi or we'll do it off of FaceTime,
Probably
and then I'll
Wi-Fi.
record it that way. But yeah, we'll definitely. I want to do a whole episode on that, or at least not a whole episode, but like a 30-minute portion of it, because I think that that's something that we never really cover, and it's something that we really should cover because, there's so many foods that are bad for your dog's teeth, and even treats that might not be so good for them as well. So
Well, yeah, most people really need to stay away from wet food. Wet food, if you don't get your dog's teeth scraped on a regular basis, then the wet food can really hurt the dog's teeth. But we'll let them, when we get a chance, talk about it, or if it just doesn't happen.
yeah, we
then
may we
I'll
may
get
actually get a
more.
press release from them that they actually their PR department is going to work something out. I know this is an odd thing for all of you guys to talk, hear about, but we're very active during the. I know I am. I'm very active during the week, talking to all kinds of people from everywhere.
Hence the reason why email and text messages are a lot simpler than calling people and constantly talking on the phone.
Yeah.
You can send an email on a 5 minute break,
Well, I
versus a
usually do
call.
Facebook messages.
That
Facebook
too.
and Twitter are, with our Twitter following at the, over the 250 mark, and just Facebook, being, social media. You can talk to everybody anywhere, anytime. So it seems like I'll come back from doing some dogs and I'll look at my Facebook and there'll be a Facebook message and I'm like, oh hi.
But
It's
that's
yeah.
pretty much been our week.
Yeah, I mean it was
Busy, busy,
it was
busy.
a great week. I can't think of anything downfall. I mean, like you said, we at the beginning people were kind of getting back to the grind of everything, but that was a pretty simple part. But we are going to transition.
Oh, one thing I do want to say, when people travel for the holidays, they tend to make grooming appointments right when they get back.
No, actually, a
Or
lot of times they make grooming appointments. Okay, go on. I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
People, in the years that I've worked,
Sorry, I'm sorry. I got one on
they
you.
say, oh yeah, let's make the appointment for after Thanksgiving because we're going to be gone and the dog's either going to be kenneled or staying with a family member. When they pick the dog back up, they want a clean dog, so they book an appointment after the holiday. Well, folks who travel by, plane or even train, you
What
don't.
about automobile? I
Sometimes.
wanted to reference a movie.
Okay, and car. Anybody that travels, you can get delayed. A snow delay at an airport, train delays all the time. You didn't think you were going to make a good enough time in your car, and you won't be able to make the appointment. So you want to make sure to give yourself a day worth of grace. If you're a grace period, if you're going to be back on, you're saying you want to be back by Monday, and you make the dog's appointment on Monday. You probably don't want to do that. You probably want to make your dog's appointment Tuesday or Wednesday, just in case you need an extra day to get home, versus calling your groomer and say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cancel my appointment, and then you're stuck with a dirty dog for another week or two because your groomer's busy. So allow yourself a couple days grace period from when you're traveling and getting home and when you want to get your dog groomed.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and the other thing, I'm sorry I interrupted you on that. The one thing I didn't even notice is some people would actually, when they're boarding their dog, as they were dropping the dog off, they wanted to make a grooming appointment for right when it was time for the dog to be picked up. And sometimes that's just impossible.
Right, when you make and if you get your dog groomed, oh, there's a bloodhound. It's the bloodhound.
And that's the ADD kicking in, folks.
Sorry, we don't have very many bloodhounds around here. I'm sorry. I wonder if that was Emmy or Emma.
You want to stay on point?
Sorry.
Okay.
Bloodhound. Anywho.
And then
What
you wonder
point
why
was
this is a recreational podcast and not a job. Because, see, this is why we would never do this as a living.
I remember. Okay, so...
Hi! Ooh, shiny red ball.
So, if you get your dog groomed at the same place they're being boarded, like at Shadowood, you want to make sure you set up the grooming appointment at the same time that you set up your boarding reservation. Most of the time, if you're going to board a dog, it's typically the same time everyone else wants to board a dog. Whether it's for the first week of summer, the last week of summer, holidays, be sure to let them know. You want to make sure your dog is going to be boarded in a safe facility. So you call a couple weeks in advance. Like Shadowwood right now, Christmas is full. Christmas has been full since before Thanksgiving.
And Thanksgiving was full. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
We had people booking and before Halloween. So
Yeah.
when you call to make your reservation for your boarding, you need to set up the grooming then too. Because you don't want to be stuck where it's you're dropping off your dog for the boarding and you're like, yeah, I want to pick him up and freshly groomed. And the groomer can't do it because the groomer's been booked herself for 3-4 weeks already.
Well, a lot of people like to, they want a one-stop shop. I mean, and that's kind of what we have. And we're very fortunate. But, people will either, buy their food and set up their grooming appointment all at one time. Same thing will apply with the boarding. They want to do the boarding and then they want to do all these things. But then you do get the people who don't do this on a constant basis who are like, oh, yeah, I need to get my dog groomed for the day when I pick up. And it's like, oh, and I think that's the hardest part about this is telling them, I'm sorry, but we have no openings because...
See, the other part that's hard, too, is that I'm a sucker. I've said that many times.
Yeah, you brought in a few extra dogs this past week. You're like, hey, guess what? What?
I've stayed as late as 6:30.
You were out every day, it seemed like, at 6 or later.
Yeah, so I was about an hour and a half behind.
One day was 6:15, 6:20,
Yeah.
6:20 actually.
Because the dogs are going to be picked up the next day from boarding, and they really wanted to get their dogs groomed. They gave me this heartfelt story. I'm like, okay, I'll have 10 hours. I'll do a 10, 11-hour day. It's okay. You guys really need your dog groomed. Fine. I'm a sucker. I'll do it. So once all my dogs went home that had appointments, then I started on the ones that weren't going to be picked up for the next day.
I remember who was my top dog of the week. It was Jake from State Farm.
No. Jake Smith. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I love this dog. I
love the owners.
I do love the owners too. It's so funny. I think every time we have them in, we always say the same thing. I mean, I had Princess. Princess was a lot of work, but my thing was Jake. Jake, you used to have. Jake is an aggressive dog.
He's a special needs dog.
Yes, he can be aggressive. You would always have to have a leash on him in kennel, so that when you would actually take him out, you wouldn't be attacked. At the beginning, that was when we first started seeing him. Now, you put him in the bathtub and he'll lift his lips and he'll show teeth and he's willing to go after you. Now, it was so weird, and this was something new for me. He was in the bottom kennel. I go, hi, Jake. Now, I know there's a difference on wagging tails, but it was so cool. He was wagging his butt. So, of course, his tail was going too. I open up the kennel and he comes right out over to me. That is the first for that one. He's not the type to do that.
Yeah, he's had aggressive groomers beforehand. So it's taken a year to get him to trust us enough that we're not going to hurt him.
Oh yeah.
Now, what makes Jake a special needs dog? For one, was the aggressive grooming beforehand. The other part about him is that he has horrible skin problems. Now, his owners have spent a ton of money trying to figure out what is wrong with the skin. Veterinarians can't figure it out. His mom can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. why his skin is so bad.
Yeah,
He's
big
bald.
patches in the chest.
Yeah, he's bald, and I would say at least 30-40% of his body.
Yeah.
He is bald. His part of his face is starting to go bald too. Um, he's got very tender skin, tender paws, tender ears. So when you touch him and you do certain things, it upsets him because he doesn't like the feeling. He tries so hard to be a good dog.
He really
He
does.
tries so hard, and he's a Shih Tzu Lhasa. He's a Lhasa.
I was like, he didn't look like a Shih Tzu to me.
He's a Lhasa. But if I remember correctly, he's a Lhasa. But there's so many Shih Tzus coming in that look like Lhasas. It's not even funny. But so he has these special issues where we have to use our medicated shampoo. They tried using expensive vet shampoo. It didn't work.
No, it didn't.
It didn't work for him at all. Just a regular medicated shampoo that we get from our wherever Keith buys his shampoo from.
His suppliers.
Yeah, his suppliers is the only thing that really works to where he's not scratching immediately. It takes him a few days to get there, but yeah, when he comes in, it's all hands on deck.
You never really know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, you
now,
watch your
I only
fingers.
had one time did he lift his lips and show teeth, and that was when I was brushing out his face. And I can understand that. It's sensitive skin. He's pretty much just telling me, hey, be careful.
Please stop.
Yeah, and even at that, it was never no nipping, no nothing. He's always my moment of the week for me, and I'm always really proud of him when he makes strides every time. So, if you have an aggressive dog, I think we say this every time Jake comes in. If you have an aggressive dog and he's just not groomable, there's definitely dogs out there that you can't groom. We've seen a couple dogs that were like, oh my gosh, but
Yeah, there are some very unfortunate cases out there where it is not safe for the dog or the groomer to take this dog to the actual grooming facility. There have been some dogs that had to get sedated to the point where they have a breathing tube down their throat, and then they just get the hair off. They don't worry about what they look like. They just get all the hair off, and he's good to go for another 6 months before they have to do it again.
that's always by vet, right?
Yeah, the veterinarian.
I hope no groomer
groomers.
would ever try that, but I asked that.
Unless it's at a veterinarian place, because some vets have groomers
That's
there
true.
too.
Well, that was
My buddy Esther, an old grooming friend back from California, she works at a veterinarian clinic, and
Really?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, but she does the grooming there too. So
Well, we had an interview lined up today. We just could never seem to lock it down, and it was a vet boarding and grooming clinic out in Connecticut. I would have loved to have talked to them because that would have actually been a great topic on this. We'll try to get them in eventually.
yeah, see, we have another dog that comes in and that you love so much, Scarlet.
Yes.
Scarlet
My
is
little Cavalier.
the smallest King Charles Cavalier Spaniel I've ever seen. Just petite and tiny. She has a thyroid problem, so her hair doesn't grow like it should. Her mom finally conceded to defeat and just decided to shave her all off and just deal with her, love her until the end of her days.
Oh, I love her so much.
But
I love Rhett
she
too.
went into the veterinarian to get two cysts removed on her back.
Yeah.
So they shaved part of her back. They shaved it so unevenly
Oh.
and so horrible. She looked at her vet and told her, "Oh, my groomer's not going to be happy with you."
Every time I see her, I hear her telling that story, and that was a year ago, and I still hear that coming out of her, and I still find that funny.
And what was funny, what's sad about it, is that the hair has never grown back in
Nope,
that area.
it's still bald.
It's still bald. A surgical blade is called a number 40. And there is something called number 50. And that is skin. If you're not careful, you'll take a layer of skin off with it. So that's what vets use when they have to do surgery on, say, being spayed or neutered. Anything that they have to actually open the skin up, they will shave down that short. So she's got skin showing in two patches that are completely uneven. It's just, oh, my groomer's not going to be happy with you.
That always makes me laugh when I see her. Well, we're going to move on to our next one, and it's an actual adoption story. It actually happened, ironically, at Shadowwood, and I, of course, have to play the intro in, so... This is the Groomer Next Door Adoption Corner. Okay, so here's going to be a great story. If you've actually seen the album art for this week, the dog that's on the front of the album art is Lady. And I'm going to hand this completely over to you. Tell us the story.
Okay, a customer called us not too long ago, or over a month and a half ago, about saying that they need to board their dog for a month. And then they'll be picking their dog up. So Kay said, okay, not a problem. The thing is, with 30-day stays, we need half up front now, and you pay half when you pick up. The people are like, okay, not a problem. So they paid the $300, and I think it was less, but anyhow. And then left Lady in the kennel. Well, they didn't want any playtimes. They didn't want any treats, just food and water, and let out 4 times a day. Well, the people that we are at Shadowwood, that's not going to be good enough. So we went in there, we petted her, pet her, took baby talk to her, trying to make her feel comfortable. The part I didn't know was that she was 5 months old when they put her in the kennel. So now a month goes by, they call to see, hey, what's going on? The owner said, well, we might not be able to pick up till after Thanksgiving. Well, when they say, okay, look, I'm going to be here my dog's going to be here 30 days, I'll pick them up. We plan on them being picked up by then, so then that means we have another run we can rent out. Well, here it comes, Thanksgiving, and that run that's supposed to be rented out hasn't a dog in there that hasn't been picked up yet. So about 3 or 4 phone calls leading up to Thanksgiving, they said, oh no, I can't do that. It's going to have to be after Thanksgiving. Well, we made special arrangements, and we took care of the pup like we're supposed to. Called the owner again, and let her know, look, we got a quarter of the bag of dog food left. It will not be enough for the rest of this week. She goes, well, just feed your food, and I'll pay for it when I pick up. Okay. So then Keith called again to make sure, hey, look, you're picking up your dog. Because the problem with kennels is that a lot of people like to dump dogs. And the way the lady was talking to Keith, it sounded like that they were going to dump the dog on Keith. The lady said to Keith, well, I might just try to find a rescue and pick the dog up because my husband and I are going through a divorce. I'm a truck driver, so I can't take the dog with me. And they knew this before they dropped the dog off. Nobody decides that we're getting a divorce within the 30 days the dog was there. So they knew that this was going on. They knew this was probably what's going to happen. So Keith said, well, we have some ties into a rescue group here in Phelps County. If we can find someone to adopt your dog, would you be willing to release him to them? And she goes, yeah, sure, I would. Just as easy as that. No.
Which is really hard for me to even fathom something like that.
Don't.
It really is. It really is very difficult for me to. Oh man, you're terrible. You're always trying to distract me when I'm doing this. But it's really hard for me to even fathom the idea that somebody would abandon a dog. It's
well,
I don't know. I don't even know what word to use the words for because it always shocks me that somebody would do it.
So I made a panic email to Pikal and asking, what do I do? Keith doesn't know what we should do. Most of the time when dogs are dumped at kennels, they take them to the pound or the shelter. And Keith really didn't want to do this to this dog. It was a puppy. It was scared. Not fear, aggression, just scared.
Well, when you think about it, 5 months old, has really no time whatsoever to comprehend its life, and then to be behind, in
A
this,
chain link,
yeah, and just left there. That's got to be very strange, and that's your life that you're starting to live. And of course, not to actually cut you off, we already know the raw animal shelter is really full to capacity still.
Yep.
So you don't really want to put, you don't want to put a dog there because they're already having problems adopting out animals as well.
So one of the board members from Peacock sends an email back saying, well, would Keith be able to keep the dog until it's adopted out? And Keith said, yes, we could keep it here. I don't want the dog run loose. I don't want him in harm's way. But we really need to try to find somewhere before Christmas, or somewhere for him to go before Christmas. I told him, well, look, I have a garage. If I can borrow one of your kennels, I can house him through the holiday season so that we'll have room. And since it's just a puppy, a big puppy, but a puppy, I don't want him here for that long. 2 months in a kennel, that sucks. Um, so one of the Peacock's board members emailed saying, take good pictures, put them up on these different websites. She said, give me the pictures. I will cross promote it too on other Facebook pages. We'll put it up on Shadowood's Facebook page. We're trying to do all these things, trying to find a home for this dog. And right after getting that email from the board member, one of the ladies came to pick up their Shih Tzu from being boarded. And she goes, well, I feel so bad. My dog, back end is going lame, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, asking for prayers for this dog that the medicine will kick in and the dog can start using his back legs again. Well, lo and behold, the dog can use his back legs now.
Which is remarkable.
Yeah. Not very well, but he can still walk and he still can go to the bathroom properly. It's been great. She goes, but the dog is so attached to me, and my kids want a dog that they can lay with, that they can cuddle with, that's not attached to me. She goes, I was hoping to get, a black and white dog, something a little different. And we said, well, we have a dog here that has just been released from its owner. And he said, I will be more than happy to waive the $300 boarding bill if you decide to adopt this little guy.
Which
Girl.
I caught on to that, and I was just listening to this whole thing unfold, and I'm going, this is an absolute remarkable situation happening right in front of us. Now, this happened on Monday of the past week, so by the time you guys hear, it's been already a week.
Yeah, so the lady the owner went back and got to meet Lady. We left him alone a little bit, but not too far out of reach, just in case. And the dog was just so scared. So scared. But she actually warmed up to the lady really well and actually gave her gave her a little lick on the cheek. The woman fell in love with Lady.
Yeah, it was almost an instantaneous.
It's just an instant. She fell in love with the story. She fell in love with the fact that this dog really needs a home, and couldn't bear seeing it go to some kind of shelter. And I looked at her and I was like, look, this might sound like a great fit right now, but you need to think about it.
Well, yes, because I think you mentioned she has kids, and with a 6-month-old dog now, puppy, still, you need to make sure that they're actually compatible.
Exactly. And she said, well, my one son is loud. I said, okay, well, see, that's the problem. Right now, we need your kids here to meet the dog because she's afraid of loud noises and sudden noises. She goes, oh, okay. Because I would hate to say, yeah, sure, take the dog. Come on, take the dog.
And then something happens.
It doesn't work out. That's horrible.
Well, you don't want a tragedy to happen at the same time. You want to make sure it works out. Obviously a lot of people adopt dogs, buy dogs, and it doesn't work out, and there's always something bad that happens.
Because they're going for the way the dog looks versus the way the dog handles situations or how they'll mesh with your family.
I mean, look at when we got Katana. We were so cautious on Katana, introducing her to Roxy, but not just Roxy, introducing her to Claire, because we didn't know what the mentality was of Katana at the time. Obviously, it was a good fit,
and
but
Katana, the Akita, the American Akita that she is, Akitas can be aggressive, and The thing is, with Lady, the dog that was dumped, I look at her and I see more of a lab pit bull in her. More
Yeah.
lab than pit bull, but I still see the jaws, maybe even a boxer.
She has the obvious strength of one of those types of dogs. She
Yeah,
has strength.
she has
and
a pit bull style body.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's the whole thing. Just because it's a lab, a pit, or even a boxer, it's only the strength that we're talking about, not being aggressive, because that's something that, like we always say, that's taught. This is a 6-month-old dog that's not been taught yet, so we're just talking about strength.
So, with a Katana, we took it easy, and Katana ended up working out beautifully. So the woman comes back with her 2 kids. Her son is loud. And
I never got to see that part.
Her son moved a lot. That can scare some dogs. Well, we brought Lady out to a neutral area and let her introduce herself, let the kids introduce herself to the dog. Oh my gosh, Lady just took to these kids quicker and easier than the dog did to the woman.
Which was the weirdest part for me. I was like, wow. I mean, when you were telling me the story, the dog was great with the lady. But man, when you told me the kids, she
was a different dog.
She was completely different.
She was jumping. She was trying to kind of plow into him a little bit. Dogs do that where they kind of hit when they
almost like a hug.
Yeah, when a dog kind of taps you with their butt in their hip area, it's the biggest sign of flattery. Is because the dog is turning their most aggressive part away from you, which is their teeth, and giving you the part of them that is the least, hurtful.
Aggressive,
yeah.
violent.
So
unless they have gas.
Right. But took to the kids like pigged to mud. The dog loved those kids.
There's the Midwestern side coming out on you.
Shush. The lady was almost in tears because she's been trying to look for a dog that would take to the kids more than the adults.
And she wants the dog because she wanted to have something to teach the kids
responsibility.
Yeah. So it was a perfect fit. I mean, who would ever guess that would have happened? It was so shocking. I mean, obviously there is an animal out there for everybody. I guess the same thing could be said about love. But yeah, that was just such a weird outcome. I was like, whoa, wow.
It was great. We put the harness on. Luckily, the dog still came with the harness. And a nice harness, too. It wasn't a cheap one. So it kind of sad situation with that dog. But we put the harness on. I got it on securely. It's a puppy. You got to make sure it's secure. Got the leash on. And the dog became something completely different. When she was in the kennel, she knew which way to go to the bathroom. That's how routine it got for her. Like, this was going to be her home for the rest of her life, and she hated it.
Yep. But
we got her out, and instead of kind of crawling against the floor, scared and timid, once she got outside, she stood up just beautifully. And she just kept going to those kids, licking those kids, and just wanting to be near the kids. Couldn't care less if the lady was there.
Which is so funny because at the beginning the lady was. Yeah, I keep saying the lady and I keep thinking the dog.
Yeah, the woman.
The woman that actually was the adopter. It was funny because that was the person she took to at the beginning, timidly, but she still took to her. And all of a sudden, you hear how it's like, oh, I like the lady, but I like the kids a lot more. The kids are what I'm adopting, and here's where it comes down to it: animals adopt us as much as we adopt them.
Well, a lot of times when it comes to adoptions, the dogs are easier to get along with the adults than they are with the kids, because kids can be loud, they move quickly, they make sudden noises. All these could be triggers for the dogs. That's what I thought through my years of dealing with this stuff. And come to find out, it was absolute opposite. Every sound that little boy made, every baby sound that the little girl made, the dog ate it up, just loved it.
Which was so weird.
It was so great. And the new owner called the old owner, speaking to her about anything that they might know about the dog that they will need to know.
Well, they transferred all of the records at the vet clinic from the old owner to the new owner.
Yep.
So that was all handled.
And what's great too is that the owner that now has Lady, brings her Shih Tzu in to get groomed by me and you, and has spent a lot of money into their Shih Tzu, making sure their Shih Tzu is healthy and happy and can
Yeah,
handle the lameness in its back end.
She's a responsible pet owner.
So I don't have a doubt that they're going to do the same thing with Lady.
Yep.
And Lady was up to date in the rabies shots and all the shots, so she just got an awesome dog. All she has to worry about is getting it spayed.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not difficult at all. I mean, obviously, I always say try to get it spayed and microchipped if you want. I mean, there are lots of low-cost places out there that actually do it. But it was a great story. And then, and to stay on topic of adoption, we also have another adoption story on top of it. Rambo, our foster kitten, has been adopted. I had put it in the show notes. I forgot to tell you that before we started recording. Rambo has been adopted to a very good home. Very loving people. They also have animals. They have a child, and it's us. We actually ended up officially adopting Rambo. I think it was Wednesday of this past week.
All I know is somebody was interested in this cat, and my heart dropped. I couldn't think of my life without Rambo. I couldn't think of Belle's life without Rambo. Claire's life without Rambo. I just went there like, nope, sorry.
Well, it was a democracy of this one. We were all sitting in the living room, and the story is pretty simple. Monday of last week, when everything was going on, we took Rambo and Belle to the shop. It was only supposed to be Rambo, but I didn't want Rambo to be alone, so I brought Belle with us. So she had a companion. We brought Belle in so that we could take good photos. We shot a video so that we could put it online and put it up for adoption officially. Log it.
I had a lot of tips from Kim, who is one of the board members of PCAL. She said that black kittens are really hard to find homes. So you're going to need to, try to take good pictures. And then I spoke to another board member. She was she gave me a lot of insight. Take a video, a short video. We'll put it up on Pet Finder. Okay, we'll do that. We're in the middle of that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to let him go.
Well, we were watching Belle. Now, we had put Belle and Rambo together in one of our kennels, and Belle can handle a kennel because we brought her in a lot of times, giving her a bath and stuff. She's kind of used to it, but doesn't like it. But Rambo has never been in a kennel before. And Rambo's attention and personality went from this really happy cat to just this, what's going on? What did I do wrong?
Why am I here?
Why am I here? My life has now taken a toll for the worst. And it was really strange. We both were talking about this. What is going on? So I took both Rambo and Belle out of the kennel, brought them into the salon. They sat on my table, and they never left my table.
No, they stayed curled up together, and they didn't care about the dogs coming in. They didn't care about any of the noise. They just wanted to sleep.
Yeah, they stayed on there. We had a nice little makeshift bed for them, the pillow and stuff like that. And they laid down and put a little blanket over them. And they were there all day, very happy. And that was the moment that I was like, oh gosh, do we really want to, separate Rambo from Belle for starters? Because those two are the best of friends. But then again, it's like, do we really want to actually let this cat that we literally nursed back to health, who was literally on the brink of death, do we want to, let this cat go after treating it for a respiratory infection, eye infections, ringworm, exactly,
worms,
just everything. I mean, the most sickliest cat possible would have never made it through that night that we first, found it.
Especially it's going into the street. We almost hit it.
Yeah. So it was guaranteed. That was its last night to live. It's like, do we really want to actually put this cat out there? Because you don't know who's going to adopt it. You don't know what they're going to be like. You don't know if it's going to become an outside cat. It's a neutered cat. So why can't it be inside out, an indoor-outdoor cat? So it's kind of one of those, do we really want to take that risk? Yeah. So do we want to separate all of our animals from what has become their good friend?
So we were all sitting down watching TV, and I looked online, and somebody wanted to adopt it, and I looked at everybody. I said, are we willing to take on another cat and not be able to foster? And they're like, we love Rambo.
Yeah, it was a
deep love for Rambo.
It was a 3 out of 3 vote. It was no doubt, hands down, we all kind of voted to adopt Rambo. So
we put through the paperwork. All I have to do now is give them the
Check.
check
Yep.
for the adoption fee, and he's all ours. So we became foster failures.
Yeah, we became a foster failure this week, but on
So
my
did Jesse Queen. Though.
that's what I was gonna say. You know, it makes me feel good to know Jesse Queen adopted a Great Dane this week. She was a foster of a Great Dane. Couldn't see that dog being anywhere but hers, and she became a foster failure this week too. When Jesse becomes a failure, a foster failure, I feel good about it because honestly,
she has
I do.
been so strong. She's fostered many dogs
Yeah.
and found them homes and such. She goes, but this is the first time I've ever been a foster failure. It was a Great Dane that was completely malnourished, and I told Kim, one of the board members of Picol, I said, look, I'll buy him a bag of good dog food. Hopefully it'll bulk him up a little bit. And I know many Danes are on this food, so she goes, okay, great. So she came by and picked up the bag of dog food. And just within a couple days later,
No. The next day. The next day or that night. I don't remember.
Jesse Queen goes, you know what? I'm a foster failure. I'm keeping him. There's just no way I'm going to give him up.
Yeah, she became a foster failure the same day we became a foster failure.
Yeah. So Rambo is now fully healed, happy cat.
I love how he's running around the floor and then goes flat.
Yeah, he lays flat.
Literally,
Arms, legs, everything flat on the ground.
Oh, it's so funny. It makes me laugh. So yeah, that's that. Moving on to the next story, which is our last one of the day. A lot of you guys have noticed in the headlines, whether it's on TV or on Facebook or wherever. We're not going to touch on this subject that long, but I just want to cover it. You've all heard about the little girl in California who was turned away by Santa Claus, and I'm going to play you a clip from the actual local in Southern California local news clip, so you can hear it, and we'll talk briefly about it. And so sit back and enjoy.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got.
A 7-year-old girl with autism is turned away by Santa Claus at an Orange County mall, and her parents are fuming about the reason why. Good evening again. I'm Chuck Henry.
And I'm Carolyn Johnson. This happened over the weekend, but tonight the question is, was this against the law? NBC4's Vicki Vargas is live in Anaheim with the answer for us. Vicki.
Carolyn, we came here because we wanted to ask the experts, people who know about the ADA law. In the meantime, in the last couple of minutes, I just got off the phone with Ed Santos. That is the girl's father. He says the mall is bending over backwards. They're offering free pictures, free lunches, etc. But he says that's not really what he wanted. What he wanted was for his daughter to spend 30 seconds with Santa because she wants to know what he wants for Christmas. Friends say they've been a duo for 5 years. Absidy Santos, age 7, who is autistic, and her service dog, Pupcake. These are photos from the dog's Facebook page. According to that friend, the pit bull has been trained to keep Absidy from hurting herself. But Sunday, when the pair tried to visit Santa at the shops at Mission Viejo, they were turned down. A spokeswoman for the Santos family says Absidy left in tears because the mall Santa claimed he was afraid of her pit bull service dog. We went inside the mall today and learned the weekend Santa has been transferred to another mall. This was a different jolly old man greeting kids today.
You know, it makes me sad that this little girl didn't get to have that experience.
According to the executive director of the Dale McIntosh Center, what happened in the mall was illegal under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
It's a public service that other children get to take advantage of, and so should children with disabilities.
The company that hired the Santa said it sincerely apologizes for any distress caused by this situation and truly regrets the incident. They are offering the family a private visit with another Santa next Sunday. Socorro Arroyo Merchain is legally blind and says there is a message in this story, one she deals with daily with her dog, Nina.
A person who uses a service dog has equal access to take that dog into the mall, on an airplane, to the library, anywhere they need to go.
This one is our Ain't Nobody Got Time for That segment of the week. You know, I was drawn to this one for one reason, and it's just because of Claire. You know, we're at that stage where we have to take Claire to see Santa. We're doing a bunch of Santa stuff here at home. You know, it's one of those moments. I saw it, and right away I just put myself in the Santos family's position going, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine our daughter being turned away because of an ignorant Santa. But
it would have been one thing if the Santa was afraid of the dog. You can't help the fears that you have. Like people who have fears of snake, fears of spiders. Especially like a ball python that does nothing to you. Or
I have a fear of snakes, and you had a snake, and look at how that went. I'm petrified of snakes.
So people have fears, and it's understandable. Okay, fine, you have a fear. Well, to turn the kid away no matter what is, I'm sorry, but that's just flipping ridiculous.
Yeah, I was drawn to this one. I had contacted the Santos family's website or their Facebook page, and they directed me to their spokesperson, who is an absolute gem to talk to. Like I had said to her, I wasn't really looking to talk to the Santos family. Obviously, the story is out there. We all have seen it. It's become international news. So I didn't really feel like we needed to actually continue to talk to them. I was going to talk to their actual PR rep, because she's the one who actually trained the dog. As she says, she's like, I have no accreditation in training, but she's had success in this. And I think more my take on it was she chose an actual pit bull, which actually made me even more happy. It had two layers to the story, having an actual pit ourselves with Roxy, and to have a little girl. It was one of those oh my gosh moments. So that's why right away I was like, I'm going to talk about it. I know everybody here has heard the story by now. If you haven't, well, now you have. But I don't know. I just think about the fact that people need to be informed. And like Sarah said, you said it best. There's going to be fears. Like I said, I'm totally afraid of snakes. And I don't really like to be around snakes. But it's not because of anything besides, but it's just, I don't know. I have that phobia of it. And, of course, you can have a phobia of dogs. A lot of people do because they're not informed.
Or they had an experience when they were a kid.
Yeah, but this was just one of those experiences in life where it's like, well, the dog was on the side, As you hear in the actual article, in the news article, she wanted to know what Santa wanted for Christmas. That's kind of cool. I mean, she seems like a really cool kid. And, I was drawn to this story this week. I've been drawn to it all week. I mean, I've pretty much been talking it to you.
Destroying a kid's version of Santa in their head.
I'm really glad though, because one thing, the mall was quick to act. They've taken actions on it. I did hear something that Santa is still working though, but in a different mall. That kind of frustrates me. But that's just me as a parent. That's the parent side, and being the kind of parent I am. I'm like, he shouldn't ever be allowed to work with kids again. It was one of those moments. But, from what I've talked to their rep, they really want life to actually just go back to normal. And I really have to commend them for that, too. Instead of being
instead of riding their 15
yeah,
minutes of
exactly.
Fame, it's like, okay, it's done, it's over with, you heard the story, move
yeah,
on.
I mean, I'm that's the other part. It's like, wow, me, if the people that were trying to get us to do that, if I was in the Santos family's position, and the people that are trying to get them to come on their show were asking me to do that show, I would be sitting at the airport waiting for a plane to go back just to be on those shows. But it's, they're so private. They want their lives to be normal. They don't want to run this. Yeah, it's just absolutely awesome. So, great story, for them. Great people. All right. Well, I think you're cold.
Yep. My legs are frozen.
I think we're just about at the 1 hour mark. We're going to cut it a little short this week. So I hope everybody has had a good time on this episode. I always do. How about you? Yeah? Anything else you want to go cover?
No, I think that's pretty much it. We've covered making sure that you call in advance if you have to reschedule, and make sure you don't plan a groom too close to your traveling time. and that also goes with needing to get your dog.
As you're telling me to wrap it up.
I know. If you have something going on the same day you're getting your dog groomed, either let your groomer know, Or don't plan your dog's grooming on the same day you have something else going. If it's time sensitive and you have to pick your dog up right away, let the groomer know, because we've had a couple people do that too. Well, I got to get out of town. I need my dog. Well, you realize I squeezed you in for a grooming appointment, so I'll do my best.
There's other, like 3 other people that's also in here, might have been here before you, may have put the appointment in before you. Yeah, it can get complicated.
So that, I know I should have said that earlier. Sorry.
Probably. As you were, giving me the wrap it up motion. Yeah, okay. Well, we are getting down to the last days of December. I hope everybody has got their Christmas shopping done.
No.
I don't have all mine.
No.
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 I do want to add one last thing on our last story. I do want to say that, and well, they already heard it, so I don't have to say anything else. I was going to say that, never mind. I'm completely going ADD at this point. Anyways, I'm Chris Green. Have a pet-tastic week.
And I'm Sarah Green, making sure everybody realizes life is so short. Play with your pet.
Goodbye, everybody.
Okay, guys.